Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Emma Briggs is the founder of marketing company EDB Digital. She feels that during her networking journey, she's gone from being the business baby to the expert in the room. She also says that life as a solo business owner would be rather lonely without networking. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast today, Emma.
Hi, it's great to be here. This is my first ever podcast, so I'm very excited.
Oh, how exciking. Well, hopefully it'll be a good experience for you.
I know.
I'm not going to ask you anything tricky.
There's one thing I'm not short of, it's being able to speak, so we're fine.
That's the kind of podcast guests I like. So I think it's fair to say, Emma, that you've been in marketing most of your life, and there's a little story on your LinkedIn profile that I thought was quite sweet. Tell me about Nickelodeon.
So back when I was a child, I was a child watching it, not an adult. So I was a child watching Nickelodeon. I just thought it was always repeats. It was always the same thing. So being the strange child that I am, wrote to them to say, I've actually had a good idea, marketing idea for you. I think I called it like an advertising idea. And it was Nick's number one. So I wrote to them saying, why don't you play the very first show of every first episode of every show that you've got, and then make it a theme so that we can see it right from the start. But they didn't actually get back to me about that, but they did do it. So they did. They took the idea and ran with it, but I didn't get any royalties. So.
I think that's a shame. I think they should have at least acknowledged your letter to them.
But I did do it again though. I had a Westie growing up, a little dog called Jock, and we used to have to spell things so that he wouldn't know. You know, you would spell walk and you spell bath, so he wouldn't react. But it's some treats. They're called rodeos now, but they were frolics back in the day. And so we had to spell that out because he went absolutely mental for them. So I wrote to the people that make them and was like, hi, just to let you know, my dog goes mental whenever you do this, and this is what he does. So they sent me like a whole batch of the treats for him, going, we hope he has lots of fun with these. So they at least acknowledged it.
Oh, it just shows that it's worth sharing your ideas and sharing your appreciation, perhaps, with companies sometimes.
I always had ideas of what companies should be doing with their marketing and advertising. I was always giving them tips, even when I was 6 and probably couldn't spell things properly.
So what do you think it was that attracted you to marketing so much?
Well, do you know, I actually was always... I liked art and I liked the creative kind of things, and I was always trying to think outside the box with everything, but I also often missed the point when I was a child of things. So what happened was I watched 101 Dalmatians and completely missed the point of that programme and thought, she's amazing, I want a fur coat, I want a big business, I want a fur coat, and I want to be in a big glass office like that. My mum's looking at me like, what a weirdo. Keep her away from the dog. So from there, I'm going to be a fashion designer. I'm going to do design. So I was always thinking of things that would be unusual and try to create things out of other objects to make these dresses and bags, and always made, you know, items for myself and customisable items. And then it wasn't until I got to 6th year at school, I thought I probably won't make money out of this unless I'm the next Chanel. I'm not going to really make any money. So I asked my guidance counsellor there, what can I do that's artistic, creative, but makes money? And he said marketing. So I thought, oh, okay. And off I went to college, and I thought I'll do 1 year of it, and if I don't like it, then I've got something under my belt for the year. But absolutely fell in love with it as soon as we got into the advertising and how to work around people's emotions of things. I thought, oh, this is the way to do this. And, you know, I loved it. As soon as I started, I knew that was what I was going to go into.
Yeah. So how much training did you do? Did you do a degree in marketing?
Yeah, I did a degree in marketing, but the degree was international marketing, and it was all about business trade as well, and try to deal with other cultures with it. Digital marketing wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
We were still sharing. We just discovered Bluetooth on our phones, on our Nokias, so we were still doing that. And digital wasn't a thing for us. So what we were kind of looking at, you know, how to advertise in Business Insider and billboard prices, and it wasn't until I was finishing uni that there was one class on digital and how this was going to be a big thing. So,
Yeah.
but by the time I left, everything, as you know, has gone digital.
Yeah.
So everything up until uni was paper based, and then it was all self-taught.
Yeah.
I just thought I'm just going to have to. My motto kind of was stay ahead of the people that you want to be doing things for, and you'll be fine. So, and then I thankfully, got a lot further on ahead. So, yeah, so that's how I got into it.
And so what was your first job after university?
My first job was a sole marketer for an adhesive company. I know, so it's very glamorous. So it was trying to make sticky sexy, if you can. So I worked there for I think about 2 years, and then moved into the kind of property side of things for marketing.
Yeah. And so how did your career progress after that?
When I went into the property side, I kept asking, could I do this? Could I do the events? Could I do the newsletters? I was constantly looking for work to do with that, and that was just giving me the experience to do all aspects of marketing. I was building their website. I was building campaigns that were both digital and external campaigns as well. And then from there, took that to then move on to recruitment and I was in as their sole marketer as well. So did what I did for that business park, for the property, and moved that over to recruitment. And then after the recruitment side happened around COVID. So everyone was looking for a job and no one was hiring because there wasn't any. So my job became redundant. Marketing is always the first thing to go.
Yep.
It's treated as a luxury item when it's really a necessity.
Yes.
So it was all about trying to find something. So that's when I went into management. So I ended up with a lot of teams that I would manage from then on, rather than being the sole marketer. So it kind of went that way.
And at what point did you decide to quit and set up your own business?
I was actually last May. I was working for a clothing company, and it just didn't. I didn't see the point in my job. You know, it was like a middle management kind of side of things. And I actually said to my manager, "What is the point in me being here?" It's a bad day when you're saying that about your own job. And I thought, well, I didn't want to move to another job until I knew what it was that wasn't making me happy. So while I was in employment, I thought, right, let's have a think about what you really want to be doing right now. And it was always the dream of the Cruella de Vil, having their own office, their own business, and preferably not skinning puppies for it, but always wanted to have my own business. I just never quite knew what it was, and it suddenly felt like, with all the experience I'd had over the last 17 years, that it all brought from different environments, it was finally that I had like a full oversight of everything in marketing. Yeah, I've done the management side, I've done the digital side, I've worked in so many different sectors, I've done the lead generation parts of everything. So I just suddenly felt like everything had come together for that moment. So decided the next day to go in and hand my notice in.
Wow.
And that's what I did. And so far I managed to keep the heating and the lights on. But
What have the main challenges been, would you say, starting up your own business?
I think everyone kind of underestimates how long it takes, because you do start. When I think of, I wrote a business plan when I first started, and it was like, oh, in 4 months I'll be making this.
Yeah.
It's really not that. But what I did do was really lean on networking. Not to find business through the networking, but to learn from people who had been in business for a long time, because I didn't, although I knew so much about marketing and my industry, I didn't know how to run a business. So just talking to people, saying, hi, what would you do with this? And do you know an accountant? What to do? And just, but really listening to a lot of people and their story of how they started their business, and learning from their mistakes was probably the best thing I could do. I did make the mistake at the very start of just taking on too much work for very little pay. You know, and when you calculate that out as an hourly rate, I was making like a minus practically. And when you think like that, because the imposter syndrome is there, I think, when you start a new job, start a new business. But it's still there. Sometimes I remind myself, well, it's not that I've been doing this for a year, I've been doing this for 17 years.
Yes.
It's just that now I do it for myself.
Yes.
So, but so that's been one of the kind of challenges. But not, and this won't, not to make you awkward, because it does with some people. But that's during that time. I then was in January this year, was diagnosed with cancer, so I've been going through chemo at the same time as doing this.
That's a lot, yeah.
So it's a lot of, I mean, I'm totally fine with it, and but I think that's been a challenge that I didn't expect, because you're not only trying to build a business, you're trying to take care of yourself, and I had the battle of trying to prove to people that I'm a new business, but I do know what I'm saying. And yes, I am ill, but I'm still capable of doing the work.
Yes.
So there was the two-pronged kind of problem with that, of trying to remain present for everything, show up for a lot of things, too, especially the networking, to show, look, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. You know, and that's been a massive challenge, but also made me kind of go, if I can get through this with the business, then everything else should be fine, she says. Cue the next pandemic.
Let's not go there. No, but well done to you for keeping going. So I think, you know, some people perhaps would have given up at that stage.
There was a time when at the start, when it was a lot to take on, and I wanted to just for 2 weeks go and lie in my bed, but I didn't have that luxury to do that, because without doing the work, things didn't get paid. So I needed to, and a lot of my family were saying, oh, you need to just, this is more important, but it is to a degree, but at the same time it's important to be able to keep your life going and you know, pay your bills and everything. So now my work is a saving grace to me. It's the thing that I don't know what I would do if I wasn't working for myself, because if I was employed by someone else, I think I would feel guilty about being off. Whereas this way I can work around myself. So if there's times that I don't feel great, that's fine. But then there's times I'm up till 2 a.m. doing work, and that's fine for me as well. Yeah,
you have that flexibility as a business owner, don't you?
And it completely takes my mind off everything else. I'm a complete weirdo that sits in hospital with the laptop while everyone else is enjoying a book. I'm sitting typing away.
So tell me about your clients. Who are they? What kind of clients do you work for?
There's such a wide variety with them. I've got the B2B side is probably where I'm most comfortable, because I've come from a corporate environment. So I've got insurers, HR, a lot of the property kind of management side of things. But recently I've actually started to attract the more of the arts, which has been quite fun. So I'm now doing the marketing for a local theatre in Bathgate, which and taking them through the Fringe and everything for Edinburgh. And also I've got a Glasgow artist who's got an exhibition and wanting to really promote that. So I've started to go into this other industry that I had never really delved into, and it's so different, but it keeps everything really interesting for me anyway.
Yeah.
Keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, I bet. So, and what kind of things do you do for your clients?
I do everything to do with the marketing if they need it. I can be as involved or as separate as they need me to be. So I create the for the, if you wanted the full kind of full boona with it, you would get all the content and visuals created for you. All the analytics of your sites are all put into a strategy and used to create this social strategy that goes and aims at the customer that you want, not necessarily the customer that you have already. I've got one client that when I came on to them, I'm sure that they won't mind me saying, it was a solar panel company, and they had so many people following their socials, but when I looked at the analytics of it, they were all 18 to 25, so it was their friends, you know. They'd like, and I thought, well, that's why they're not buying, because what 18-year-old's going to buy solar panels?
Right.
So you look at the kind of analytics, but look at who you're trying to target as well, and then create that content that's engaging so that the person actually communicates with you rather than just scrolling past, see a pretty picture and scroll past it. The other side of everything is the lead generation, where I can get GDPR compliant data. So if you're trying to get into a new market, or you're trying to launch a new product or service, I can get new data for you, or I can repurpose the data you've got that's kind of gone a bit stale, and I create email campaigns for you that of the kind of smart campaigns that you start looking through every aspect of what the person does on the email and creating a journey for them. Those leads then are marked as how many times they've interacted. And then what you can do is I've got an award-winning telemarketing company who then follow up with these leads for you and convert those potentials into clients.
Yeah.
So you get the full journey.
Do you think that marketing is easier to do now in the digital age, or is there just so many platforms that it just makes it overwhelming?
I think when I look back at when I first started with the property management side of things, it was a lot more external. It was, it was still your Business Insiders, and it was slower. I would definitely say marketing was slower, but you didn't really see your return as well. You kind of hoped you would go by we've got a readership of that, but it wasn't as easy to track. Whereas now there's a lot more noise, a lot more going on, things are a lot faster. Threads just launched, and it's like, another platform I now need to learn the algorithms and everything of. But at the same time, it's so much easier to analyse and see your return on it, to see what's working. So there's definitely a benefit. I prefer the digital side of it. I prefer to know why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Now, you've already mentioned that you do networking for your business. What kind of networks do you belong to, and what do you like to do in terms of networking?
I actually have so many networking groups that I'm a member of now. I had one that I joined that was a Glasgow-based one, and that was the first one I joined when I first became self-employed. And those people there are in-person meetings, and they were my sounding board, to be honest. They're who I would say, can I send a proposal and you give me your honest answer on it before I send it out to a client. And then started going into more online to go UK wide, start to dabble into different communities rather than just my local area. But what I have found recently when I hit the year mark was I felt like I'd really pushed this baby of business kind of persona on a lot of my networking that I was part of prior to this. So I thought I'm not really building credibility here if I keep going in almost acting unsure of myself.
Yeah.
When really I was unsure of how to run the business. It wasn't the actual job itself.
Yes.
So I thought I'm going to have a word with myself, basically. So now I do look at things and say, well, no, you've worked with Google partners, you've done this, and these are things that I need to say to myself frequently, to remind myself of how far I have come with it and really home in the 17 years. So now when I join new networking groups, that's where I position myself rather than the baby of business, although I still revert to that when I go back to the Glasgow one. I'm like, hi, I'm little.
Yeah. No, you're definitely the expert, Emma, not the baby.
Exactly. I'm going to have to stick that onto my computer.
Yeah. So why would you recommend networking to other small business owners like yourself?
I don't think I'd still be doing the business without it. I think not only do you learn from other people's mistakes and what they've done right, but the way that you build relationships. I think anyone that goes on to a networking to sell their product is not going to do well.
Yeah.
It's just all about building that relationship and getting one-to-ones in and, finding out about each other, because as you build that friendship, then that's when you start to build trust and and you get referrals. I think the majority of my clients have came from referrals from people I've met from networking.
Yeah.
Whereas it would be so lonely without it. If you've gone from being employed with a big office and you've got the validation of a paycheck every month, and you're not, then you suddenly find yourself in the spare room or wherever you decide to work yourself with the dog for company, and you don't know if you're doing a good job. You have a bad day, it starts to knock on your confidence and things like that, whereas that's where networking really jumps in, and you get human interaction with people. And when I found out that people who've been doing what they do for 20 odd years still question themselves.
Yes.
That's one of the best feelings. Not that it's like misery loves company, but it makes you go, right, it's not just me. This is just what part of the self-employed journey is.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you that validation and that boost sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So finally then, Emma, if people want to know more about you and about EDB Digital, what's the best place for them to find you?
Best place to find me is in LinkedIn, because I'm always there. I'm always posting it and I'm always talking and showing you photos of my dog, just to prove he's still got his fur. Or my website, so www.edbdigital.com.
Lovely. Well, thanks for being my guest today, and the best of luck with your networking and especially with your treatment as well, Emma.
Thank you so much.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.